Hello and welcome to Treasury Notes, a financial education program from the West Virginia State Treasurer's Office. I'm your host, Gina Joins. While the State Treasurer is primarily the banker of state government, under the direction of State Treasurer John Perdue, the office has created and built several other successful programs throughout his tenure as Treasurer. Two of the most well-known programs of the Treasurer's Office are the Unclaimed Property Program and the SMART529 College Savings Program. And these programs continue to grow and reach new heights. Deputy Treasurer of SMART529, Tasia Smith, will join us later in the program to talk about the accomplishments of the state's college savings plan. But first, we are going to talk about the record-breaking accomplishments of the Unclaimed Property Program. And I'm so excited right now. I have joining me is Carolyn Atkinson, Deputy Treasurer of Unclaimed Property for the State Treasurer's Office. Carolyn, thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a while since we've had you on, so I'm excited to talk with you and catch up about some of the things that are new in unclaimed property and some of the more recent successes. But I really wanted to start off just by letting our viewers know who may not know what unclaimed property is. When people hear the words unclaimed property, a lot of times they think real estate or they think tangible items, but typically this isn't the case. Can you explain what unclaimed property is?
Sure. So unclaimed property for the most part is any type of financial asset that might get left behind if you move, if someone passes away. People might forget about it. It could be a bank account. It could be a life insurance policy, as we've seen especially lately. It could be stock. It could be a savings account, any type of investment that people have. And if they lose contact with the business, the holder of the property over time, then eventually the holder makes one last ditch effort to try to find the owner. If they cannot, then they report it to us as unclaimed property, and then we start looking for the owner.
So it's really a great responsibility the treasurer has in the Treasurer's Office, of course, under your direction. It's been quite a thing that has been out there in the public, but it's taken some time to catch on to make sure people know what exactly unclaimed property is. Since Treasurer Perdue took office many years ago, the division has turned around $170 million to rightful owners of unclaimed property. That's got to make you feel good to be a part of that story and to be a part of that effort.
Yes, Gina, I tell people that I have the best job in the state because I get to give people back their money, and who doesn't love that? So, right, and getting to help out consumers and to get to be a part of the team is a wonderful experience.
And we talk about awareness. As the awareness has grown of this program, as more and more people understand what unclaimed property is and know about the procedures to claim the property, it just stands to reason that the amount of claims and the amount of money returned has increased as well. But this has been an especially groundbreaking year because I believe the current number for this fiscal year is 17.6 million returned to current and former residents of West Virginia. That's smashing a previous fiscal year claim record of 15.3 million. Give us some context to this. How did this number come about? And obviously, I'm sure you're proud of this number.
Sure. You know, we have always tried to improve our methods of returning property, and we've become more and more proactive over time. So one of the things that we started doing more of this year is sending out letters to updated addresses. As you can probably tell, a lot of the addresses we get with unclaimed property are old addresses, they're bad addresses, but now we have resources to find out a more updated address. So we're sending out mass mailings to those updated addresses and encouraging people to go online and claim their property or to file a claim form with us.
And West Virginia has 55 counties. Of course, you're doing outreach initiatives to literally every corner of the state. I know you have staff and some other methods that you use.
True. There are also people that just work exclusively on trying to locate owners and get them to claim their property.
And the website, I would be remiss not to mention the website. That's a huge tool now in making sure that claims are processed and to helping people through that process. They can look up their names. They can go to wvtreasury.com and really walk through that process. Can you give us some more insight on this service? And it's, I should mention, it's completely free. This is a state service. People do not need to pay for someone to look up their name.
Exactly, and we see either scams or we see people being taken advantage of sometimes with regard to other companies wanting to charge them to claim what we will pay them for free, their own money. So we have about 39% of our claims are online claims now, and so it's the quickest, most straightforward way to claim if it's property in the person's own name, and they have a West Virginia driver's license, then they can claim without sending in any paper to us. So that's making it the simple as we can in order to encourage as many people as possible to file.
And all they have to do, go online, type in their name, the name of a loved one, a family member, a friend, a neighbor. You can go and research many names online, and in some cases, they can start the claim. But I also want to mention that we have great customer service. So it's not just about going online. It's also about, you can call the office as well.
Of course, we have an 800 number that they're welcome to call, and we will look up names for them. Sometimes people will give us a big list, a paper list of names that they want us to check, and we do that as well.
Something I really wanted to talk about during the show is the 2012 lawsuit that was initiated by Treasurer Perdue against many insurance companies that operate in our state, and really fine-tuning the process of whether or not insurance companies need to report, I should say, unclaimed property to the state, and then in turn returning that money. Tell us more about this ruling. I know it went to the state Supreme Court, and the Treasurer's Office was very successful in that effort, and it's brought about a lot of changes in unclaimed property, much of which we're seeing right now come to fruition.
Yes, that's true, Gina. As a result of the lawsuit, the Supreme Court ruled that insurance companies needed to make an effort to determine whether their insureds were still alive or not. And prior to that time, the practice had been to pay claims as those claims came in to the insurance company, but they did not perceive they had a duty to go out and see whether their insureds had died and to look for those people. And so this is in the same vein as what the purpose of unclaimed property is, to try to find those people who actually are lost. And maybe they didn't know there was an insurance policy out there to begin with. Maybe they were never told and their loved one passed away. How would they know to make a claim? And so the Treasurer felt that it was very important to protect those people. And so we were able to get the ruling from the Supreme Court that upheld that consumer protection. The practices of life insurance companies, of nearly all life insurance companies now, are to consult a resource such as the Death Master Index, the Social Security Index that tells when people pass away, and to compare that with their records and to make a periodic determination of whether their insureds have died, to locate those beneficiaries before it's too late and the beneficiaries have moved or passed on or whatever, and then if they can't locate them, then to turn the money over to us.
And that's greatly improved over the past several years. I know there have been some statistics to prove that, but really, this is something that Treasurer Perdue, I think, felt very strongly about. He kept saying it's your money, it's the people's money, it needs to be returned. You can't file a claim on life insurance if you don't know it's there, of course. So he called it it was kind of dubbed in the media as the grave robber bill, and something that I think we're going to see the effects of for a long time past now.
Right. So I think what you're referring to now is after that court ruling that we had that was successful, then the legislature went in and fine-tuned and provided what was called the ULIBA, the Unclaimed Life Insurance Benefits Act, that actually requires by statute that insurance companies search the Death Master file to look for their insureds and see whether they're still alive or not.
Yeah, great stuff that's happening on the statewide level to make sure that people get what is due to them. Speaking about getting what is due to you, that's what unclaimed property is all about, and I know you've been there for many times when the Treasurer has personally handed back a check of someone who had somehow misplaced, lost, forgotten, didn't know about money that they had out there. And it's always, I think, a very rewarding experience to be able to see the face of a person who just found out that they had something there that they didn't know about. What is your experience with that? Just seeing those reactions, do you have any personal stories about that?
Right. So to begin with, people say, they don't have any unclaimed property for me. I wouldn't lose track of my money. That's what every single claimant says. But so of course they're shocked and surprised and pleased to find out that they are getting money. Many people are receiving money that then goes for much needed home improvements or repairing the roof, or maybe it's putting a child through school. A couple in particular that I recall were there was a teacher that was several $1,000s were found for, and so she was able to. I believe she was using it for home improvements. There was a gentleman who had paid for his sister's funeral about 20 years ago, and and he had to take out a loan to do that. And a life insurance policy in her name was found, and so he was able to collect that money. It could have certainly come in handy a lot earlier, but he was very pleased to have that. There were some heirs that were lost, and through some sleuthing work, they were located. And what a great surprise for them that they didn't even realize that their aunt had left them all this money. And so, it's one of those stories like, oh, my great uncle died and left me money. It's the kind of thing that everybody would like to have happen.
Yeah.
Not die, but money.
Well, it's the stories that make national news, and I kind of wanted to get into that. Treasurer Perdue has been featured on many national news programs for his efforts to return unclaimed property, because there have been so many stories in this state of wonderful people who didn't know that they were due something, maybe from a long-lost relative, or maybe just something that wasn't tracked very well. I know that the Treasurer's Office has been featured on NBC, ABC, CBS, 60 Minutes. I think one of the check presentations you mentioned was featured on 60 Minutes, which also did a story about the life insurance, some of the efforts, not just in West Virginia, but in other states as well. Is West Virginia setting an example on the national level? Do you feel that we are really setting the bar when it comes to unclaimed property and the procedures we've put in place?
I definitely think that we're making every effort to have the superior program that returns the most money to the rightful owners, that goes out and finds people. I think there's several areas that we have worked on that for, and our results show that we keep getting better at giving people back their money.
And on that note, I do want to make mention that you've taken a very prominent role in NAPA, the National Association of Unclaimed Property Administrators. You have really helped them, you're past president of the organization, and you've helped them with many of the guidelines and rules and regulations that they deal with. Can you talk about your role with NAPA and what West Virginia is doing on that national level?
Sure. So, as you may imagine, it's very helpful to us to have colleagues in other states that we can share ideas with, that we can brainstorm with and plan strategically about what would be the best practices for managing unclaimed property programs. And so that's one reason that I've been involved with NAPA. And I was past president, and then after that, then I worked with them. I was the advisor to the Uniform Law Commission on the revision of the Unclaimed Property Act that happened in 2016. And so I sat in on a lot of Uniform Law Commission meetings, and we had a tremendous outpouring of support within NAPA on trying to figure out, well, what should the Act say, and where do we need improvements to it, and how can we facilitate people getting their money back more simply, and how do we try to make it easier to get money reported to us, because if it's not turned over to us, we can't give it back to the owner.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention before we go is that the State Treasurer's Office does put out a semi-annual publication in all the newspapers around the states. Many people get excited to see that. Now they've come to know it as a publication that's out there. And that's something that just lists all the names. It's a new listing of names of people who have unclaimed property in our state. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I know you get an increase of calls when that publication goes out, and just talk about that particular effort, and then we'll talk about the website one more time.
Sure. We publish all of the new properties that are over $50 at least one time in the bulletin, the insert that comes out all over the state. And we do get a tremendous amount of phone calls, and we get calls for at least 3 weeks after it appears in a certain area. People are saying, oh, my neighbor told me, or my relative told me, they saw it in their paper, and so I'm calling to find out what it is you have, or filing online to find out. So it's quite successful. We do about 13,000 names at a time, but we'll never be able to publish in the newspaper the entirety of what's in the unclaimed property database. It's just too many names.
And that's why people need to check us out online. There is the website up there. You can go to wvtreasury.com or call the 1-800 number. It's on your screen. Go there and just look. See if you or a loved one has your name listed, and it's an easy process. If you have any questions, you can always call Carolyn and her team. They're happy to help.
Thank you, Gina.
All right. Thank you so much, Carolyn. I appreciate you being here. We're going to take a quick break right now. When we return, Tasia Smith, Deputy Treasurer of the SMART529 College Savings Program, will join us to discuss the recent accomplishments of that program. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Babies are expensive. Formula, diapers, daycare. That's just the first year. Oh, wish you could start saving for college now? The Piggy Bank Fairy is granting wishes of college savings to new parents by contributing $100 when you open a SMART529 account.
Enroll in West Virginia's SMART529 Bright Babies program before your child's first birthday or Gotcha Day, and we'll contribute $100 into your SMART529 college savings account.
Wishes do come true. Register in the first year, so when they sit up, it's time to sign up.
To learn about SMART529, its investment objectives, risks, and costs, read the official statement available from smart529.com. Check with your home state to learn if it offers tax or other benefits for investing in its own 529 plan.
Welcome back to Treasury Notes. I'm your host, Gina Joins. We just talked a little bit about the state's unclaimed property program that's run out of the Treasurer's office, but another very successful program is the SMART529 College Savings Program. And joining me now is Deputy Treasurer of that program, Tasia Smith. Tasia, thanks so much for being here today. Appreciate it.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a little while since we've talked with you about the 529 program, and it's really such a great program. There's been a lot happening with it over the past several years, and as of yesterday, you just shared with me that the program now boasts $2.6 billion in assets. That's quite a feat.
That's correct.
Yeah, what do you credit that success to?
Well, we were certainly surprised when we hit $2 billion, but to get this much farther is really, it's kind of, I think, beyond everyone's expectations. But I will say that I think we'll go higher with the market cooperating, of course. Our program continues to expand. And I think this is largely due really to the engagement of our Board of Trustees and the folks that are involved in running the plan. They're really committed to overseeing the assets, making sure that customers have access to best in class when it comes to their college savings portfolios. And also, though, the Treasurer's Office, I think, really needs to be recognized. The grassroots efforts at educating the public concerning the college savings products we offer is really above and beyond. It's been that way for the decade that I've been with the office, and those services only continue to improve. We have a very sophisticated marketing system at the national level as well. And we're constantly working to evolve that and improve that and get the message out to the nation as a whole about the value to be found in the SMART529 plan.
And you talked about the board, and I know that Treasurer Perdue is chairman
Correct.
of the Board of Trustees, and they really govern and kind of direct the whole program and kind of keep it on track, which is some great oversight that the state
Correct.
should be proud of.
They've been very vigilant about their oversight.
I do want to mention that the 529 program offers 3 different plans with different levels of contribution requirements and fees. Can you tell us about these 3 options, and that really there's probably something for anyone who wants to invest for the future?
Yeah, the board has really looked toward constructing a plan that will offer everyone in different situations, families with different financial situations, with different educational goals. Everybody has options. The first of these I'd like to mention is the West Virginia Direct Plan. It is geared specifically towards West Virginians. You have to be a West Virginia resident to enroll. And at this time, you can start an account with $1. And there are no monthly requirements for further contributions. Of course, we encourage that. But there's very little standing in the way of West Virginia families who want to at least just begin the initiative of saving for their child's education.
Yeah.
So the second plan I'd like to talk about is the Select Plan. Now, this plan is actually rather special. It features mutual funds that are overseen by a firm called Dimensional Fund Advisors. And Eugene Fama and Kenneth French. Eugene Fama is actually the Nobel Prize winner economist of some fame. They started this firm a number of years ago, and West Virginia was the first state to actually offer these funds in a college savings plan. This particular plan does require a $250 minimum contribution, and subsequent minimum contributions monthly are $50. However, that requirement is waived if you're a West Virginia resident also. So
Great.
If you're interested in this plan, it's certainly accessible to you no matter your income level and no matter your goals. So the third and final plan is our advisor sold plan. It's administered or overseen by the Hartford, which is also our program manager. And these are actively managed mutual funds. You do have to have a relationship with a financial services advisor in order to open this account, but you get the added bonus of the expertise, someone that can work with you to tailor your investment strategy to your specific family's needs. There is also a $250 minimum investment. If you're an out-of-state resident, it's $50 a month annually in perpetuity until you close the account. But again, if you're a West Virginia resident, this requirement is waived and you don't have to make you're not required to make any monthly contributions. So yeah, three really great options, which I think in total pretty much cover the gamut of what someone might be looking for in terms of strategy for their college savings.
And for the person who just wants to go open an account, the Direct is a very accessible plan for
yes.
the majority of
I mean,
West Virginians.
Precisely. You can go online and easily complete the application. You can call our office. We'll send you a paper application and counsel you if you have any questions. So it's a very, very simple process.
And I wanted to talk about the fact that it's received some high ratings, most recently being rated #1 for its 3-year investment performance on SavingForCollege.com's national list of direct sold plans. That's really a great accomplishment. Can you explain how this rating is established, what it means for the 529 program and our program in West Virginia specifically?
Sure. Well, first of all, it is really an honor, and everybody was really excited about this. SavingForCollege.com is sort of a wholesale resource for anyone that's interested in college savings plans. And it offers comparisons across the nation of like savings plans, and quarterly provides a ranking that is essentially based on performance, basically what the return on your investment actually is. And so this last quarter, as you noted, in the 3-year term, we are first place. For 1 and 5 years, we remain in the top 10. And I think that #1, this really goes to the fact that our plan is priced extraordinarily competitively, one of the least expensive in the nation. #2, the mutual funds and the underlying portfolios are tested and respected, and then we're heavily vetted by the board. So they have excellent reputations.
And, there are other benefits as well, such as state tax breaks. There's a lot of reasons to consider investing and putting money for the future in this plan.
Sure. Federal tax benefits, first of all, let's talk about those. When you invest in a 529 plan, any returns that you make on your initial investment, as long as subsequent distributions are considered for eligible educational expenses, you don't pay any federal tax on any of the accruals that you have on your original balance. At the state level here in West Virginia, I'm going to use an example. Let's say that last year, for the purposes of taxable state income, it was $50,000. That was your taxable state income. If you had contributed $2,000 to your child's college savings plan, you would have reduced your taxable income, or you could reduce your taxable income to $48,000 for state tax purposes. So it truly is a meaningful benefit for parents and families.
Sure. And a lot of people ask this question. They're worried about losing their money if the child decides not to go to college, but there were some options to keep you on track with that as well.
Yeah, I think that when we developed this plan and when folks at the federal level were looking at it, they really wanted to create fail-safes, because, you know, we can plan for 20 years in the future, but things change, you know, people's goals change, family events, personal events, you know, they'll interrupt, you know, these plans. So the plans are set up such that if your child matriculates from high school and decides they don't want to go to college, you can take that 529 plan that you set up for them 15, 17 years ago and transfer it to their sibling, if indeed they are planning on attending higher education. You can, in fact, change the beneficiary to any person that is directly related to the original beneficiary. You could, in fact, change the beneficiary to yourself in case you had, you know, an interest in pursuing, you know, perhaps that culinary degree that you missed out on when you were starting a family. So yeah, there are a lot of options. But finally, if you find yourself in a position as the owner of a 529 account and, you know, no obvious beneficiaries exist, you can close your account and you will pay a tax. You will pay taxes on the earnings that have accrued on your original principal. However, that original investment, you'll never lose that. It's only the earnings portion that will be taxed and assessed fines, essentially. So that initial nest egg that you put in is safe.
That's a great thing to note. And you mentioned about maybe going and getting that culinary degree that
Exactly.
you never, you know, that you always thought you'd want to do. I really think that's a great point, and we only have about 2 minutes left, but I did want to touch on the fact that it's not just for college. We call it a college savings plan, but any type of higher education. This covers the gamut in a lot of cases.
It certainly does. And I think this very simple rule of thumb is if the school at which you're looking is authorized to accept federal student loans and distribute them, then you can use your 529 account for tuition and expenses at that school. So we're talking art schools, artisan schools, vocational schools, as you mentioned, culinary schools, and often in countries across the world. So.
Yeah, and I want to, we're running out of time here, but I do want to make mention to people that they can always find out more information at smart529.com. They can call the Treasurer's office at 558-5000, ask for the Smart 529 program. A lot of ways to get resources, get educated on the program. And of course, you can go to wvtreasury.com for more information as well. Any final thoughts, Tasia, before we leave?
I would like to say that if you are interested in setting up an account, we have been revising and updating our website, and we'll be launching that before the end of this month, I believe the weekend of July 21st. So I encourage everyone to check that out. We're very excited about that. And again, as Gina said, we are more than happy to help folks that contact us at the office. So please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely encourage that. Thanks so much, Tasia. Great talking with you.
Thank you.
All right, that's all the time we have. Thank you for joining us. Remember, you can always get the latest news and information from the State Treasurer's Office. Follow us on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and of course, always on our website. Keeping you informed on the Library Television Network, I'm Gina Joins with the West Virginia State Treasurer's Office.